In this WrestleTalk news, WWE in denial over AEW, Karrion Kross leaves NXT, WWE ejects a fan, and the latest on Adam Cole. It's enough to make you cry, isn't it? You bloody marks. Oh, CM Punk returned, I'm going to cry. Or why don't you sub-cry? And enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news.
Support WrestleTalk!
SummerSlam weekend might have seen the wrestling returns of CM Punk, Becky Lynch and Brock Lesnar, but true fans would have been most excited about something far cooler. An interview with a corporate behind-the-scenes guy in WWE, Nick Khan. No relation to Tony, or is there conspiracy? Became WWE president last August after negotiating huge $1 billion deals with Fox and Peacock for the company. Since then, he's become one of the most powerful people behind the scenes in WWE, overseeing the mass releases of almost 100 wrestlers and backstage staff, and now an overhaul of NXT. In an odd move though, Nick Khan decided to do an interview over the weekend with a man he used to be an agent for, the MMA journalist Ariel Helwani. Odd, as Khan's predecessors George Barrios and Michelle Wilson never gave high-profile interviews like that. This could signify Nick Khan as starting a more public profile to show the world WWE is in safe corporate hands if anything was to happen to Vince McMahon. Not that Vince McMahon is going anywhere though, as Khan made clear we're not trying to sell, that's not our intent, there are no internal meetings about selling this company. But does note, they are always open for business and will entertain pitches. So why have there been so many releases this year? Khan dropped what is becoming WWE's new favourite phrase to explain why. Moving the needle, taking over from the forefront of change, and taking food off our table. He explained there's a collective of officials at the top of WWE with Bruce Pritchard, Kevin Dunn, Stephanie McMahon and Triple H who are all involved in these decisions, but ultimately Vince makes the final decision on everything, and he ultimately decided all those releases wouldn't move the ratings needle. But Karrion Kross in a gimp suit, that'll put butts in seats. The little butt plug on the seat. It seems WWE no longer cares about hoarding talent away from their competitor, which was the strategy for the last several years, as Khan claimed they don't acknowledge their competition. Instead, they put blinders on the horse. So, like a millennial mid-20-year-old woman's Facebook post on New Year's Day, they can finally focus on my future and my spiritual growth, while also definitely keeping tabs on their ex. I mean AEW. Screw you, Megan. Speaking on the Nick Khan interview, Dave Meltzer is reporting there is a culture of denial in WWE about AEW being a legitimate threat to them, and that Khan was warned that people in the company would dismiss any competition existing. Nick Khan was warned, and he was told that everyone in the company will tell you that none of this is true and it's impossible this will happen. But in fact, it did happen. As AEW ratings have shown recently, while they lag significantly behind WWE in total viewership figures, they are actually closing and in some cases overtaking Raw and SmackDown in the key demographic viewing figures that advertisers pay the most money for. The best way to explain it is that WWE has a higher quantity of viewers, but AEW is sometimes beating them on quality, which is more important to the TV industry as it relates to the amount of money you can make through commercials. Before we get on with the rest of the episode, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this episode's sponsor, Mech Arena, which you can download for free on Android and iOS right now. Mech Arena is the first ever mobile game to truly capture the magic of playing PC and console shooters with your friends. Move aside 1997 copy of GoldenEye, I've got giant robots now. Mech Arena has the perfect balance of casual pick up and play fun. I know because I was really good at it right away, and skill-based competitive battles thanks to its tactical team-based 5 vs 5 gameplay. And did I already mention the giant robots? Express yourself in giant robot form through unlocking and collecting cool personalized content, more weapons, and mechs by opening the Fortune Vault. My favorites are Lancer Archer, as I've called Lancer, and Brickhouse. But I'm having to send Paragon back to developmental for a new paint gimmick. Now you can main event wrestle Mechia too, Paragon. Now is the perfect time to start playing. Mech Arena has just launched globally and they're running a huge celebration event in-game right now, with loads of awesome events as well as a great login rewards program, which you definitely don't want to miss out on. And in fact, the very cool people at Mech Arena have given me some free gifts, like IRL
free gifts in real life. Thank you, Macarena. Look at this. Ooh. It's a box inside a box. I didn't even have to open up that first one. Dun. So what have we got here? We've got some nice little character cards. Like a little tablet. Oh my god! Look at that! Balance that well. Okay, you can be quiet now. I'm talking. A 500-piece puzzle. Look at that. And right at the bottom here, in the last bit, with one of their A coins in the game, and a t-shirt. A fancy t-shirt. Fits like a dream, and I'm not even a robot.
Use my link in the video description below, or just scan my fancy QR code on screen now to get 1 black carbon skin, 300 A coins, and 50,000 credits to hit the ground running with your giant metal legs. If you're quick, add me to your friends as Wonder Ollie too, and we might even be able to play some matches together. Join my Crabneck faction. Please do at least click the link below, as not only is Macarena a great game, but every click really helps support this channel, and it also means I can crush you with my mechs. Support WrestleTalk. Support giant robots. Back to Nick Khan, he also confirmed in his interview that NXT would be getting a complete overhaul, saying it's going to have a whole new look, it's going to have a whole new feel, explaining they don't want any more indie wrestlers and they want to look elsewhere for great young talent. Coincidentally, AEW president Tony Khan, no relation, or is there, just so happened to tweet at the same time that interview came out. Professional wrestling is an art form. You don't create great artists by training them all to paint by numbers in the same way. More of the Khans! And Nick Khan's comments likely influenced what Adam Cole will do next. Quick catch up so far, baby. NXT accidentally let Adam Cole's contract expire last month and seemingly fired the guy responsible for keeping track of stuff like that. Cole agreed an extension through SummerSlam weekend to finish his feud with Kyle O'Reilly at Sunday's TakeOver, where he'd then make a decision over his future. Move up to the main roster, where he had even had a reportedly positive meeting with Vince McMahon about, or jump ship to AEW, where he has many friends, including his girlfriend Britt Baker. It was initially thought Cole's extension expired on Sunday night after TakeOver, but now Fightful is reporting it comes due this Friday the 27th of August, ruling him out of a surprise appearance on Wednesday's Dynamite. As his contract has expired rather than be released, he isn't subject to any non-compete clause period, and in theory can show up wherever he likes right away. PW Insider initially reported Cole is 100% currently a free agent, but they have now corrected that to be in line with Fightful's Friday expiration date. Fightful note WWE is still expected to make Cole yet another offer to keep him in the company, as he still hadn't re-signed as of Sunday. But Andrew Zarian has tweeted they're not confident that'll work. A lot of people within WWE were under the impression that Cole would have a deal by now. In the last 48 hours, the feeling has shifted. It might be telling that Cole wasn't anywhere to be seen on last night's NXT, which Tempest will be reviewing shortly, as the show will be pre-recorded over the next 3 weeks as WWE rebrand the Capitol Wrestling Center to give it that new look Nick Khan promised. But with taping in advance, also comes spoilers. Tuesday's episode of NXT was actually taped in advance on Monday, which saw WWE reportedly eject at least 2 fans from the audience. One, who preferred to remain anonymous, had been attending NXT shows for the past few years, but was chucked out with no warning when officials accused them of tweeting live spoilers from the taping. This follows Wrestling Observer correspondent JJ Williams being removed for taking photos in July. Another was a Bodyslam.net correspondent who was allegedly approached after a producer caught them on camera texting spoilers and accused them of, quote, potentially being a dirt sheet writer, which, while a derogatory term, is hard to argue. I'm assuming if they were there as a correspondent, they're there to leak the results. That's what they do. It's frustrating for NXT, sure. Nobody likes spoilers, so here's an easy fix. Get the audience members to sign an NDA like advanced movie and TV screenings do. But fans aren't the only ones to officially leave NXT. The sexy Demolition Man has too. Following his NXT title loss to Samoa Joe at Sunday's TakeOver, PW Insider is reporting Karrion Kross has officially left the brand to join the Raw roster, after appearing on both brands since his main roster call-up last month. This means he will no longer be appearing on NXT programming. It means Vince and the main roster brain trust can finally mold him into a needle-moving WrestleMania main eventer, which, as we saw on Monday's Raw, involves Zardoz cosplay. Kross's new look was met with near-universal mocking when it debuted on Monday, but Andrew Zarian is reporting there is a reason other than Vince's very specific kinks, with his source telling him everything and everyone must be marketable. Toys, shirts, imaging, and accessories. You need to stand out, and this is how they sell. That explanation, especially with Nick Khan's previous comments about seeing WWE as a licensor of IP, in a similar way to how Marvel exploits their characters in movies, toys, comic books, and video games, says to me this is the real future direction of WWE under Nick Khan. Not that they ever have, but WWE do not see themselves as a wrestling company. They see themselves as the next Disney. This is nothing new in the business. Plenty of non-wrestling people have tried to make wrestling promotions into something else. History, however, is not kind to those people, as not a single one has worked out. As for the rest of NXT, losing their former champion Kross and a new focus on big young talent, PW Insider is reporting that Johnny Gargano is set to be positioned as the top heel in the men's division moving forward, with Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong also set to be prominently featured bad guys, hinting that Dunne has agreed a new deal with the company, as his was set to expire on the 1st of September. They are all on the shorter side though, so there is significant internal talk on Walter moving permanently to the main NXT brand. Problem is, Walter has always said he doesn't want to permanently move to the US. And on the women's side, as we saw on last night's episode, PW Insider adds that Kaylee Ray will be joining the main NXT brand full-time and is moving to the US. It remains to be seen what will happen to NXT UK, which is yet to be hit by any releases. We'll have to wait and see if the changes help move the needle for NXT, but for the main roster, the last several days have worked incredibly well. WWE have announced that Saturday's SummerSlam pay-per-view was the highest grossing and most viewed SummerSlam of all time, which could potentially mean more Saturday scheduled pay-per-view slots in the future, and Roman Reigns couldn't resist celebrating, tweeting, "Legitimate needle moving." This is, of course, in reference to his comments last week that CM Punk was never a needle mover. Just 24 hours after he said that, Punk's AEW debut helped it achieve some of its best ratings ever. He created the Shield, Roman, show him some respect! And the fallout pushed up Monday's Raw ratings too, averaging above 2 million viewers for just the second time this year, giving it its best rating since January. Now it's time for Tempest's review of NXT in about 5 minutes.
Did you know that no member of Hit Row has won a match by pinfall since June? What the fuck is that about? What's going on, WrestleTalk friends and fans? Tempest the Wrestler is back with another review of NXT in about 5 minutes. This show opened with the $1 Million Championship celebration with Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase. This was pretty by the books. They didn't really say anything noteworthy, as Ted DiBiase said when he came to NXT he was looking for someone to take on the mantle of the $1 Million Champion, and Cameron Grimes said when Ted DiBiase showed up he annoyed him at first, but he wouldn't let Ted DiBiase become a butler like he did. They finished by saying "to the moon" as dollar bills with Cameron Grimes' face on it fell from the ceiling. TakeOver really felt like the blow-off between LA Knight and Cameron Grimes, and this segment felt like the blow-off between Grimes and DiBiase. And later in the show, Cameron Grimes gave the $1 Million Championship back to DiBiase, saying that it belonged with him. DiBiase said he wanted Grimes to have the belt, but gave him a replica belt back, and drove off doing the patented Ted DiBiase laugh. I don't really understand the reasoning behind Cameron Grimes giving up the title that he's wanted for the last 6 months, but overall, this whole thing was very good. This gets a 4 out of 5. The first match on the show saw Ridge Holland take on Timothy Thatcher. This match, while not bad, was also kinda slow for my liking. They went back and forth delivering European uppercuts and chops and suplexes throughout this match, but it was all kinda slow. Everything was very technically sound for sure, but I just wasn't really into this match. It was still okay, I'll give it a 3 out of 5, but it wasn't my favorite thing on the show. After the match, we saw Tommaso Ciampa get in the ring and mix it up with Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland before Danny Burch made his return, teaming up with Oney Lorcan to take out Tommaso Ciampa. They announced that Index's wedding will be taking place on September 14th, 2021 on NXT. If we don't even get any cute, vignettes of them planning their wedding, I really don't understand what the point of all this is. But I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that we will see them. but mark my words if we don't. The next match saw Kacy Catanzaro and Caden Carter take on Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. This was a pretty basic tag match. There wasn't a whole lot of note to talk about, and the babyfaces ended up getting the win with their neckbreaker 450 splash combo, but it was in this match that I realized that the NXT Women's Tag Division is these two teams and the champions, who are a thrown together team. This is a bad division, y'all. The match was solid enough, and afterwards, Kacy Catanzaro and Caden Carter said that they wanted a shot at the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. I mean, I guess it's them or nobody, so why not? This was fine, I'll give it a 3 out of 5. The next match saw Kaylee Ray take on Valentina Feroz. With this being Kaylee Ray's first appearance on NXT since arriving at NXT TakeOver 36, this was a pretty effective squash match, with Kaylee Ray eventually getting the win with the gory bomb. Again, this was solid stuff. There really wasn't anything to comment on. It was just a 2-minute squash, so I guess I'll give it a 3 out of 5. It wasn't bad. Samoa Joe came out for his championship address, and man, all hell broke loose in this segment. Joe called out anyone who would step up to him, and he was greeted by Pete Dunne, LA Knight, and Kyle O'Reilly, who all made their claims that they should challenge for the NXT Championship, before Kyle was attacked by Ridge Holland and Tommaso Ciampa came out to brawl with Pete Dunne, and LA Knight got jumped by Samoa Joe. I think I got all that right. There was a lot. I would assume Pete Dunne will get the first shot, as he and Samoa Joe have had the most interactions in recent months, but it could be any of these guys. This was good. I'll give this a 4 out of 5. Next, we had the NXT Breakout Tournament Final as Carmelo Hayes took on Odyssey Jones. In my opinion, this was the best thing on the show, as both of these guys were super likable, super over with the crowd, and they went back and forth in a very good, very long match before Carmelo Hayes was able to get a crucifix pin on Odyssey Jones for the win. Hayes will now get an opportunity against any champion of his choosing, and there are a lot of very interesting possibilities for Hayes on this show. He could ask for another shot at Kushida, having had a close match with him the first time around. A match with him and Isaiah Swerve Scott sounds like a lot of fun. A match between him and Samoa Joe would be looked at as a big step up in Carmelo Hayes' career, but Denise Salcedo pointed out on Twitter that maybe Carmelo and Odyssey Jones could team up for a shot at the NXT tag titles. That sounds like a fun idea too. I'd like to see that. The next match saw Boa take Zion Quinn. That's not how you spell Zion. This match went like a minute, with Boa hitting a chop and a bunch of running knees to the chest and back of Zion before getting distracted by Mei Ying getting out of her chair, and then Zion Quinn just hit a running back elbow for the win in a minute. In a minute! Boa can't even last a minute. He got hit with one move in this match. God. Tian Shaw has go away heat with me at this point. I really don't care what they have coming next. They've been on this show for months. Get to the point. We then got the main event as Legado del Fantasma took on Hit Row in a 6-man tag team match. 6-man tag team matches should main event every show in WWE. These matches are so much fun and they almost never miss. I thought this was the perfect kind of main event for a post-takeover episode of NXT, as both teams went back and forth for about 20 minutes, having a really good match. As it looked like Swerve was going to be able to get the win over Santos Escobar, Escobar rolled to the outside and dropped Swerve on the apron before being pushed into the post by B-Fab. That is not babyface behavior. I do not appreciate that, but she was then attacked by Elektra Lopez. Lopez hit her with a pipe and then tossed the pipe into the ring to Isaiah Swerve Scott, which distracted the referee, allowing Santos Escobar to roll him up and get the pin. The finish was kind of wonky, but the match overall was very good, and it looks like Elektra Lopez will be in this faction going forward. It seems like we're going to be able to have a mixed gender 8-person tag team match in the near future. This gets a thumbs up. This gets a 4 out of 5. On the whole, this was a pretty fun episode of NXT. Not everything was great, but there was enough great things on the show to make me feel good about watching it. I'm going to give it a low 4 out of 5, but a 4 out of 5 nonetheless. And that just about wraps it up for me. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this show, make sure you go over to WrestleTalk Podcast later on today, where myself and Chopper Pete will be breaking down this entire show in detail. Until then, be kind, rewind, take care, spike your hair, and jam that jam.
Rampage beat WWE's current biggest show on TV in the 18 to 34 demo, and male viewers aged 39 to 49. Not bad for someone who can't move the needle.